Right, we are live.
Okay.
So I'll give it just a minute or two for everybody to come in. Let's see. I feel I'm expecting a big crowd today.
Oh God! Do you see that pressure you just put on me there? Well, they're only here to see you, Mark. They're not.
No, I'm saying you're going to
no. Oh, no.
Let's have a look. Right, who have we got so far? A couple of people coming in. So for anybody that's in just now, we've got someone on YouTube, so that's good to see. I always give a special mention to the mysterious Twitch viewer, but they're not on at the moment, so I'll save that for when they come on, because I never reveal who they are, and I'm always curious. Yeah, probably. Surprise me. No, I don't think she'd even know what Twitch is, to be honest.
You never know.
YouTube, maybe.
You never know.
So yeah, for anybody who's on at the moment, I have to say this every time. LinkedIn Live is a little bit temperamental at times. So I've had people say it freezes, it lags. So if you look in the comments or the chat for this stream, you'll see links to YouTube and Twitch, because we are multi-streaming. We are in the 21st century now. So let's just see. So we're going to kick off in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Just give people a chance to come in. Hey Lee, how you doing? Good to see you. Make sure you've got a pen and paper with you, because Phil is going to be dropping a lot of nuggets of wisdom today.
Yeah, you just keep heaping this pressure on me. Yeah, I'm going to get performance anxiety here at this rate. But anyway, hi Lee, thank you very much for joining.
Right. I think we'll just kick off. Oh, I always, when you start a stream using StreamYard, as soon as you click live, that is the first frame. That's like the thumbnail or the first frame. Last week when I did it, it was me with a cup of coffee up against my face, and today I've got this weird. You're sort of got 1,000-yard stare, and I should.
You want to start again?
No, maybe not.
Oh, it is what it is. It's done now.
Oh, brilliant! Right, Ailey. Yes, good. So you're on Twitch. Awesome. At least so I know who the mysterious viewer is today. That's good. Right. Okay. Welcome welcome all. So we've got a very special guest today on today's MX5 Sales Machine live stream. I decided to I don't want to say save the best till last, because that's harsh on the amazing people that we've had on so far. But I've been really looking forward to this one. I suppose I'll let you introduce yourself in a second, Phil. But yeah, Phil Eldridge. I thought it would be interesting to get him on as someone who, you've worked as a managing director, operations director, haven't you? So you've got quite broad business experience. But I look at it as being from the other side of the table. So a lot of the people that I have on, it's about selling from a sales perspective. Whereas, as I say, you're on the other side of the table. So really interested to hear what you have to say today. So welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks very much for inviting me to contribute to the program. So I've been watching with interest all the other contributors. So I've been making some nice notes that I will steal shamelessly and take away with me. So thanks for those contributions. I started life as a buyer. Left university, went on a graduate scheme in purchasing and supply, got professionally qualified, and spent the first 10 to 12 years of my career as a professionally trained customer. We're all customers, obviously, but I've got some professional training. And I've sat on the other side of the table many times, listening to sales people talk away and present and pitch and make offers, and obviously reading in detail their tenders and their quotations, and that's international suppliers. I've seen a lot of technique, behavior, and it's really interesting. I can get a little bit overcritical of the sales organizations and the sales people that I've met, but they've all been genuinely hardworking, nice people, obviously trying to represent themselves and their company. but they do sometimes make mistakes and drop themselves in it by just not thinking through the customer experience and not thinking through what I call customer service excellence. We've talked about that last couple of weeks offline.
Yeah.
And for me, what frustrates me a little bit when I was operations director, a service director, and a managing director was there was almost, it was split into two. There was the sales organization, marketing and then sales, particularly the sales organization function, really focusing on the selling aspect, and customer service was almost a separate entity, a separate thing done by others. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're in a large organization, you are going to have a sales department and you are potentially going to have a customer service department. Usually they're doing training, they're doing support calls, things like that. They're managing complaints some of the time. But in a smaller organization, and particularly micro businesses that you and I have, and many of our potential clients are, you can't have that luxury of being able to switch off from customer service and say, I'm the salesperson and someone else looks after the customer service. It has to be all joined up together. And I always think that if you think about customer service excellence as being what a salesperson is ultimately trying to achieve, puts a different spin and a different perspective on their technique and how they try to present themselves. And again, I've seen many a salesperson fresh from a sales training course, pumped full of competitiveness, pumped full of energy and enthusiasm, sometimes assertiveness, sometimes quite aggressive technique that absolutely goes completely against the essence of very good or excellent customer service. So yeah, I know we've debated this a lot. I think there's two elements to customer service. I do a customer service excellence workshop. The first half is all about the sales bit, the selling bit, getting the value right for the customer. The second half of the workshop is all about making sure you deliver that value once you've actually got the sale. And a lot of people come along to that workshop a little bit confused because the first half's thinking, well, what is this, Phil? This is like, when are we going to get to the bit about how we manage customer complaints? And I say, well, ultimately, I'm not going to talk about customer complaints on this workshop because it's all about making sure you never have them. Because you sell value and you deliver value. That's customer service.
Yeah. Lots of thoughts off of that. I mean, I like to think of it, not having the luxury of having separate teams and whatnot. I like to think of it as a seamless. It's not a seamless process, but it's an overlapping. There are overlapping steps. From generating the leads, from managing someone through a sales process, and how that plays into then, the aftercare, right? The actual traditional customer service.
Well, the delivery, in effect.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
It has what you've marketed and sold then has to actually then be delivered. Either a product or a service has to reach the customer, and they've got to be delighted with it. Otherwise, the process is broken. And that's why it's a value stream. You've got to think about it as a stream of value that starts with a marketing concept, a product or service concept, and finishes up with a delighted customer who pays you on time, preferably early if they can, and many do, who wants and will refer business to you because they feel like there's that sense of trusted relationship that's being developed along that whole process of delivering value. And this is why it's called a value stream. It's a stream of continuous value. And if it breaks at any particular point, or people step away from it at any particular point, then you will have a broken process and the stream of value is interrupted in some way. Which is why, again, if you think of big organizations and everyone's chopped up into the silos, we all know about that concept of silos. It was really interesting. I did an org chart many years ago to an American audience, and I had everything colored in. Every silo had a different color, so it was easy for me to, HR was yellow, finance was blue, and operations, everything. So it was easy for me to present. And someone put their hand up at the end of the presentation. It was a killer question, and it was brilliant. And I wish you hadn't asked it, actually, because I was stuck. They went, who's managing the white bits on your org chart? And I actually didn't understand the question until I stood back and looked at the screen and realized I'd painted pictures of colorful silos. The white bits, none of it was connected. And we actually debated that as part of that management training, executive training. And what we basically, the conclusion was, it was up to the leaders to manage the white bits and the functional experts to manage the colored silos. And yeah, that was a great reveal for me. And it was all about, yeah, I'd inadvertently created colorful silos that weren't connected. And yeah, and ultimately, if that's the situation you find in your business, your customer service will fail.
So in a moment, perhaps we can get into customer service excellence, your workshop, the framework that you've developed around that. First, just to warm things up a little bit more, could you just talk a bit about, like, you did touch on some of this at the start, but what have you experienced from sellers? You know, you mentioned you've heard the techniques, you've had the proposals, the tenders, and everything in between. Could you talk a little bit about what do you see, or what have you seen being done well and maybe not so well?
Oh, crikey. Let me go back in time. When I started off my career, it was almost like a battle. It was a battlefield between buyers and sellers.
And sorry, Phil, just to jump in really quickly as well, just to add a bit more to that. Sure. As a buyer, maybe on top of what I've just asked you, what do you like to see? You know, what do you as a buyer really want or need from a seller?
Well, we'll come back to want and need, because that's a big topic.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just try and simplify it rather than going too far back.
Okay.
The sort of early 90s, when I was getting training, it was all about negotiating the best price. It's all about price, negotiating the best price. That's what it was all about as the buyer. Squeezing the supplier, you know, aggressive, negative language. Thankfully, hopefully that's been eradicated. And the other side of the table, aggressive language and behavior in terms of got to get the sale and winning. And the word or the concept CRM and SRM didn't really exist in our mindset. They probably existed as concepts, academia, and it was probably bubbling up in the 90s. But I didn't see any of that for the first sort of 5-6 years of my career. I didn't see customer relationship management. I'm not talking about an IT system here. I'm talking about the concept of customer relationship management. And certainly when I was doing my early Chartered Institute of Purchase and Supply qualification, we really only just scratched the surface of supplier relationship management. And the two words that obviously jump out there, drop off customer and supplier and just put relationship management in there. What I was seeing back in the bad old days was a complete absence of relationship management. It was a transactional fight. It was, I'm buying, you're selling, I've got a purchase order, you want it, and we fight over it, cat and dog. And eventually someone wins. And we talked about win-win, but it was talk. Someone wins and someone doesn't win as much, to put it lightly. And that sort of behavior by buyers, I was probably a really difficult and awkward buyer. In fact, someone told me that once. So a salesman took me to one side after about 5 years of my career and actually said, Phil, you're not helping yourself. Me and my colleagues find it very difficult to get to know you, to get to know Phil. You're putting up such a front. It's really difficult to do business with you. And it's not, and he said, and believe me, that won't help you during your buying career. Wow. And the same thing, obviously, the behaviors of the salespeople, again, in a transactional fight, it's very short term and they don't do any sort of favors. They diss the competition. They do all sorts of things that really doesn't really rest well with the buyer. And I'm hoping all of that's gone. Although I did see a post, I think he did on Tuesday, they were starting to talk about competition and how do you manage competition.
Yeah,
and there was some nice stuff in that. I responded to that. I put a comment on that. And if anyone in the audience hasn't sort of seen that post, have a look at that post. It was a really nice one, but there was stuff in it as a buyer that I looked at and went, Some of the language used was a bit of, from my perspective, I know your audience is, you're talking to a sales community, but as a buyer, I was looking at it again, because you and I are having this debate constantly. I had a look at it and I thought, that language was interesting. Have a read through that post again and see if you can think and highlight some of the words and comments you used that perhaps as a buyer, I've started to go, could have used better words.
Do you remember anything specific that jumped out?
Well, I think the word poke, probe, prod, push, foot in the door.
Yeah.
Doesn't ring well. But I of course, I'm being hypercritical here and I'm being picky just because you and I have had these debates and these fun sort of interactions. But again, mindset. What's in your mind comes out often in your communication. And under stress, under a sales buying competition, it's stressful and things are said that shouldn't be said, and images are formed in your mind about what the person is or isn't. So really, to cut a long story short, relationship is the key. Relationship management with a small m, because we're not managing it in a sort of aggressive way. It's all about building and managing a really trusted relationship where everyone feels comfortable. You can have these sort of debates and have a bit of fun about it, but you can get some points across. But the key thing is what we're trying to do is, as a buyer, I want to make sure that what I get is the outcome that I want. And I want to do it in the most cost-effective and seamless way as possible. And you want to be able to deliver that to me so that the relationship continues and builds and becomes a trusted relationship where we can almost not talk about terms and conditions. They're in the background, never talked about almost. Price, doesn't really pop up. Whereas I said earlier, when I was getting trained as a buyer, it was all about price, terms and conditions, terms of payment, latent defects, warranty periods. It's all commercial stuff that we would throw the kitchen sink at the tenderers and expect them to comply with without question, putting a lot of pressure on them, a lot of pressure to say yes to, because we ultimately had some sort of power. And then the salesman having some sort of power in the other way and pushing and shoving things in that doesn't really help. And I was buying engineering products, as you know, at that point in time. So I was getting into contract with someone potentially for 24, 36 months, just on one purchasing transaction. We were basically going to have to manage that relationship for 36 months. And if it starts badly, it can only go one direction, really, without a hell of a lot of work. It can only get worse unless you stop the bus and say, hang on a minute, we can't be doing this for the next 36 months. Or at the end of it, 36 months, finished, never to do business together again. And isn't that a waste of time and effort?
Okay, right. Can we dig into the relationship thing just for a moment? Because I know we touched on this last time we spoke. I mentioned to you about the Challenger sale, which I kept it on my desk, one of my favorite business and sales books. And I know you weren't too keen on the word challenge because it implies a certain confrontational nature or that sort of thing. Or
competition.
Well, there was something that you said that really stood out to me when you said about the salesperson or people that pulled you aside and said, look, what you're doing isn't helping you, right? And you're talking about relationships. So the data from surveys that were conducted shows that the salespeople, or the type of seller that focuses or overemphasizes the relationship, is the lowest performer in most cases, or averaged across cases, whereas it's the challenger profile that is the highest performer consistently. And when I say challenger, some of the points that they talk about is offering unique perspectives to the customer, strong communication skills, two-way, understands as a buyer, understands your value drivers, comfortable talking about money, and knows when to apply just the right amount of pressure.
Ooh, pressure.
That's the thing. It's interesting because I think that it seems like what they did there was to actually challenge you a little bit and say, look, the way you're doing it, as long as it's done respectfully and tactfully in an intelligent way.
It was great advice. It was great advice, and I was delighted to receive it. And it took, I guess, it took that guy a lot of courage to actually, bring that up. He did it in a great way. It was, and I love him to bits for it, because it changed my perspective on what my role was. My role was to get the best outcome from that relationship for my business. And again, it goes back to, and again, I liked all of the descriptions there. You took that challenger, and then you started to talk about really nice, warm feeling words and emotions that struck good chords with me in terms of asking questions, getting to know what the customer's looking for. And then I picked you up when you said exert pressure, So again, it's, I'm being picky. I know that I'm being quite pedantic, but again, it's all about being really, trying to just, erode and remove any of those sort of negative aspects of a relationship. You want it to be always the optimum relationship, and you don't want any sort of sense of negativity. The thing that I think lots of times gets in the way is, well, how was I being measured and bonused on the savings that I made? So what was my focus? Possibly not getting the best outcome for my production director, who ultimately was my customer. He was my customer. I was getting stuff by him, or the construction director when I was in construction. Me squeezing this price down, and I use that's an aggressive term, squeezing the price down so I get what I want, which is the measurement that I'm getting, might not help the construction director or the production director in terms of the outcome that is needed. And they ultimately are my customer. And again, from a sales point of view, you've got to be careful how you incentivize salespeople, the same as how you incentivize purchasing people, because incentives can often drive wrong behaviors. And I've got loads of examples of that, particularly when I was working in an American environment. And I met some North American salespeople who were wow. They were wow when I met them, in terms of highly competitive. And it was all about looking at how much money they were going to earn in that year. And that's what motivated them. And the relationship, word never mentioned, really.
Right.
So again, I liked some of the things you said in terms of challenger. The word challenger, I just think is just not the right word, but I can understand the sentiments now you've described. It's all about, digging in and asking questions. And it is all about a really interactive Q&A. That's the essence of a sale and a buy. It is really a very interactive Q&A with lots of helpful questions, lots of listening, lots of checking, confirming, building up that thing. You can tell I'm from an engineering background, called a specification. I've got some keywords. I'll maybe drop some of these into the chat. So again, it's Dictionary Corner here. You know that I like to try and use the dictionary to help people to understand key elements of it. Yeah. Specification, okay, is the act of identifying something precisely or stating a precise requirement. And ultimately, what sits in the center of any sale/purchase is what we're actually trying to deliver, which is the specified product or the specified service. We're trying to deliver a specification. And during that sales buying interaction, what we should be doing as two partners is making sure that the specification is clearly defined and is, again, let's look at the word specific. Very focused in on the outcome that is desired by the customer, end user. Because remember, my customer was someone that was down the value stream, was basically the production director or the construction director, or even my customer if I was adding some value to it and then selling it through. So ultimately, what we're trying to achieve during that interactive Q&A, where my guard has to drop, so I give information freely because I feel like we've got trusted relationship. I can describe what I'm feeling, what I need, what I want, really quite specifically to allow you as the salesperson to look at your feature set and start to go, yeah, this is going to be part of my offer. Yeah, oh, they need that. Oh, they want that. Not too sure. I'll check if they want that before I push it in. So it's all about when you make your offer, what you're doing is just repeating back what is being specified during the interaction. I can then read it and go, yep, that's my indication of that's the spec.
Yeah.
We meet, which means that there is no disappointment and misunderstanding and miscommunication. And as I said to you, what you really want as a salesperson, and I'm selling as well, obviously now, is when you put your offer together, your proposal, you want to be able to describe all of the features that you're going to deliver, all of the elements of the specification, and the buyer's pressing the purchase order send button, and then at the bottom corner they go, oh, there's a thing there with some figures on it. Oh, that'll be the price. It's almost like an afterthought because the value is so clear. Yeah. They're actually wanting to press the buy button. And then they go, oh, actually, that, happy to send the purchase order because the price actually is a reflection of the value being created. But it's almost literally bottom corner, oh, that thingy. Not where it was in 1990 when I was a buyer, which was front and center. That's the purchase order value, guys, and you've got to meet it. And I'm going to force you to put in stuff that possibly you might not be able to afford to do, so that I get what I want out of this transaction.
So, yeah, it's funny actually because whenever we speak, Phil, I feel like we're coming at it from different angles, but we're largely saying not the same thing, but we're definitely on the same page. And you mentioned needs versus wants a couple of times, and do you what value do you see in a seller who can, because you, as a buyer, you'll go into the conversation with an idea of what you want or what you think you need. But I think sometimes part of that challenging, if you like, and that value add is to come in as a trusted advisor rather than a salesperson and then to ask some of those difficult questions like, is this really the right way to do it? Are you sure this is, and through proper questioning, uncover what you actually need rather than just being an order taker and being like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Is the invoice.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that. I put that thing on the board. The guys probably can't quite read it there. But my essence...
We can segue into that if you like.
Yeah, I put the word want on there, not need. Okay? And it is a bit of semantics, a little bit. But basically, this is the essence of customer service that you're trying to deliver, the excellence that you're trying to deliver, which is ensure your customer gets the valuable outcome they want. And then you said to me need, and I said want, and then you said need, and we battered that around for about 5 minutes. They should be completely aligned. Now, needs tend to be more basic, wants tend to be more desires. Okay, if you're going to go into dictionary language, but let's just keep it easy. You really want it to do that. Needs and wants overlap. Absolutely overlap. Often, if you get it like that, you're selling what you perceive their need, they're buying what they think they want. That is going to lead to problems down the track because you haven't actually, in your interactive Q&A, your to and fro of good questions and good listening by both parties. You actually haven't come up with a spec correctly. The spec is misaligned. It's incomplete. It's not what it needs to be. It has to come together, and they do sit separately. And again, what you in essence, you really want to finish up where I want what I need and need what I want. sort of thing, and they have to come together, but they can be different. So I come with a list of wants, a wish list of this is what I want, Mark. Now you could say, fine, I'll give you that. But in an environment where you're the expert and I'm not, then that's not great, because you'll be sitting there thinking, you know, I've had this cook, and something's occurred to me that actually in this conversation, Phil hasn't really identified it on his list of wants, but I think he needs this, and I think he needs that, and I think he needs X, Y, and Z. Now you can say, regardless, I'm going to provide that, and I'm just going to give him again, negative, give him what I perceive he needs. Problem. So of course what you do in that process is you ask a very good set of questions to say, thanks, Phil. I was listening to what you said there, but something just occurred to me. Do you think you might need this? Do you think you might need that? Do you think this might be something you need? Now I might reply and go, oh crikey, right, see that first thing, actually I don't want that. I know about that, but I don't want that in your offer. Not quite now. That other thing you mentioned, though, tell me more about that. I hadn't really thought about that need. And then you've got an opportunity to describe it as the expert provider. Yeah. And then I go, oh, right, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, I really need that. And I want that to be part of the spec. Could you make that part of your offer? And what you're doing is you're making sure that the need and the want come smashing together in complete alignment. And that builds trust, because you've asked good questions. You've helped me through a difficult buying process where possibly I'm not the expert, you are, and I haven't considered everything when I started the interaction. I had a list of things that I felt were problems that I needed solutions for, but you helped me dig into some more of the root causes, and you helped me think, I think you need this, Phil, to be honest, but I'll leave the decision up to you, but here's some of the things it could give you. This is the features of it, and this is the benefits, and I think it will ultimately give you that valuable outcome that you're looking for. And you think, oh, thanks for that, Mark. Let me consider that. Let me think about it. I'll come back to you tomorrow. And then you keep that going, and then you're building this specification so that the requirement is clear and the need and the want comes together. And then I know exactly what you're going to deliver. You know exactly what you're going to deliver. So from the start of the engagement of delivery, we're starting at the right place. So we're going to end up going and to the delivery point, and we're going to be together all the way through it, and we're going to be happy. But as we go along the relationship, things pop up, and you say, actually, this has popped up. I think I might need this now, Mark. What do you think? Well, actually, to be honest, not right now, but it's just something we'll talk about later, but not right now. But let's just park that for the minute. So the needs and wants must come together. But ultimately, I've got to want and want to pay for and want to have delivered the specification. And if I don't feel it's right, then if it feels like something is being forced or delivered to me that's not part of my particular specification, then we're not starting at the right place, so we won't end up at the right place, and that's not going to be good for either of us. So again, hopefully that adds some value to people about the need and the want, which is why I choose the word want and not need when I put that statement together in advance of this particular session.
Yeah. So I know value, and we were going to do some more dictionary corner stuff on the word value, and perhaps you can intersperse that into this next point. I'm conscious we've got about 10 minutes left, and for anybody who's watching on the stream, please do put your questions in now. I was going to do a bit of Q&A at the end if Phil's got time, so if you get them in now, we can do that so we don't run out of time at the end. But one of the things we discussed before this was the idea of taking I put it in the description for this event, transforming a £500 customer into a £10,000 customer, and how that's done. Maybe you could talk a bit about that, and if you feel that the value plays into that.
Yeah, that's something I end this workshop with, and again, it's something, and there's lots of other people talking about it. It's not unique to my workshop by any manner of means. But how did we begin this conversation? We talked about transitional in fighting, a transactional relationship, a sale and a purchase, never to be seen of again. So the stages we could go through is. Let me give you the maths that we talked about offline, which was you have something that you sell for £500, the person transacts and buys it. And that customer transaction is worth £500. And if that's all it is, then that customer is worth £500 to you. That might be great, but if you leave it there and that's how it ends, then you've just had a transaction. There's no relationship. There's no development of and creation of value beyond a simple transaction. And now if you move it forward into more of a relationship where you're offering additional features, new products, improving your product and services, and then you really want me to continue to buy. We're in a good relationship. I've bought from you once, really like the experience. I'm coming back for more. Let's just say I buy 5 more times over a period of time, say that a year, 2 years. Suddenly, my value to you is, if we want to put it into monetary value, is £2,500. 5 times 500, £2,500. It's worth having. It's worth investing into customer service to get to that value. And how do you get to the 10,000? Well, if you then ramp it up further and really get into customer service excellence and really develop that relationship, then that customer, the happy customer, as we've called it offline, is going to become a referring customer, someone that's really happy, so happy that they tell, let's say, 10 of their closest connections, buy from Mark. He's wonderful, brilliant value, absolutely nails it every time, and he's fun to work with. Yeah. Then let's just say 3 of those 10 buy. Okay, that's realistic. Not all 10 will, but 3 do. They're warm enough introductions that they go, oh yeah. And they buy not just once, but they buy 5 times. Suddenly, £10,000 has been created for you as in terms of your revenue stream. So a £500 transaction can stay a £500 transaction, but a really strong, trusted relationship can develop into £10,000 worth of value for you, but a heck of a lot of a value created for them also. It's because it's a balanced equation. So for me, I say to a lot of people, it's really worth investing a lot of time and effort in customer service excellence to get to the 10,000, rather investing a lot of time in selling technique that gets you 500. What do you want, 500 or 10,000? Of course, we want the 10,000. Yeah. So we move it beyond a simple sales transaction to something a little bit more in-depth, a trusted relationship, CRM and SRM coming together to the benefit of both parties. And that's the sort of relationships that I want as a buyer with my supply chain. They're coming up with innovative new ideas all of the time, really helping me with my client base. And you want to be offering those sort of things to me because you want to be able to say, hey, Phil, I've got something new and improved for you. Do you want to have a wee look at it? You're excited to offer it and I'm excited to look at it. That's the relationship we want. And all of that salesy buyer stuff that we talked about, 35 minutes ago, and hasn't it flown by 45 minutes ago, it's just gone. It should be gone forever. But I do see some of the interactions on your posts. I do enjoy them. I've enjoyed the Sales Myths posts, by the way. They're absolutely spot on. I really enjoyed those. But sometimes you see people making comments and you see their job title and you go, oh, right, sales director, sales manager, and you go, yeah, wrong words used there. And I just smile and walk away and think, okay, there needs to be a little bit of a different mindset, a different thought process. Sure. But when we're in a situation where we run micro businesses, and most of the audience today, I would suggest, are going to be running micro businesses. They're sole entrepreneurs. God bless us, we've all had a rotten 2.5 years. We really need to make sure that we're making the most of our opportunities. So our mindset needs to be right, and we need to be thinking about trusted relationship, £10,000, not winning a transactional dogfight, £500.
Yeah,
That is a neat summary.
I would go as far as to have asking for referrals as part of the sales process, as part of that process, right? So that it's repeatable, it's done consistently, because a referral,
part of the customer service. So I'm going to pick you up again. I apologize. I keep picking you up. Really, really sorry. Part of the customer service excellence experience.
Yes.
It's a value stream that doesn't just sit within sales. You've got to think about the whole value stream from end to end. Yeah, because we're micro businesses, we've got to market our products. We've got to sell our products. We've got to deliver them. And then we've got to do the customer service if there's any issues. But we've got to be talking to our customers continually, developing that relationship. It's got to be, again, this stream of continuous value and not a sale. And again, I'm being really pedantic, and I apologize to yourself and to the audience. We've got to break away from buying and selling, and it's about relationship management.
Yeah, I don't see it as pedantic at all. I think the words we use do matter, and yeah, you should pick me up on that. Maybe on some of my posts, you should. No,
I mean, crikey, I'll be on your post forever if I'm picking up every word, and I don't mean to ruin your confidence. You're posting some really intelligent stuff, asking some really probing questions of the part of the organization we call the selling part of our organization. But I just think it's one last thing that I learned in my corporate life was not to have all departmental silos, but to turn it around and have people in value streams within the business.
I like that, yeah.
So you don't have these constant gaps where people perceive their role is this and only this, and people that side of them and people that side of them, we barely talk. You turn it on its side and we're all part of a continuous stream of value. So move away from silos to streams of value. And that was something that I was taught and was getting developed when I was sort of 2008, 2009, when I was in the corporate world as a managing director. And I thought, we restructured our business away from functional departments to full value streams. It's quite, it took us 18 months, and conceptually it was really hard to begin with. But once we got there, it seemed so obvious. We're all part of a value stream. Not, I'm a member of the finance department, I'm a member of the purchasing department, I'm a member of the marketing department, and you're almost sort of starting to get a little bit elbows out, and there's a bit of conflict. It's all about that constant stream of adding value, and we're all part of it from beginning to end. We're all part of that value stream. So yeah, again, I'm sorry, that's a very conceptual thing to finish with, but if we can think about it in those terms, as micro business owners, says, how do I create a continuous stream of value for my customers, rather than how am I going to sell to them? How am I going to market to them? Yeah. It's a different concept, different mindset. And I believe that the value stream concept is a better concept, because value, again, we're not even had time to scratch the surface of the dictionary corner in terms of value, valuable, valued, evaluated, and value prop. And we've not even touched the 7 elements of customer service excellence. Perhaps we'll do that another time.
Oh, yeah.
But if we start at the right place with the right mindset about creating value, and that's our job, and that's what we do 100% of the time, I think we start at the right place.
Okay. So for those of you that are listening to this or watching this, if you ever speak to me and I'm saying value first, remember what Phil said. Listen to this, man. No, that's brilliant. Thanks so much, Phil.
No, not at all.
It really is good to get your perspective. I was really hoping to hear this, the anecdote about brown shoes. If you don't have time, we can do it next time. But I'd love to hear it.
Let's do it next time. There's a lot more to it than brown shoes, and I think let's leave the audience wanting more, as they used to say in the 1980s and 1990s.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like we've got any questions. I'm very surprised, but I guess you answered all any questions that would have come up. So
this is a debate. I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. This is something I'm just dropping in there for people to have a think about. And yeah, I mean, if you want to contact me or connect with me offline and connect with me, I'm quite happy to come back and we can continue this, turn it into a series.
Sounds good.
But I really, I've been on a journey. A buyer who thought only about price, to someone that eventually became a managing director of a global company, who had to be the face of the company for the customers, and delivering value. And it wasn't easy to go from A to B, and there was lots of bumps along the road. And my 7 elements of customer service excellence started, and the word negotiating the best price or getting the best price doesn't even enter into that. It's gone. It starts with quality and delivery, and then it's developed over time from that. And that's part of my sort of 20, 30-year journey to get to that definition. So we'll leave that. We'll
flesh it out next time. Yeah, brilliant. I think that's a nice point to end on. So just quickly, could you tell the audience where they can find you, if there's anything that you're working on specifically that you want to quickly promote?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, guys. Just connect with me. I don't post a lot. I post occasionally. I network a lot. You and I are potentially going to meet each other later on this evening at 8 p.m. I'm on the FSB, Scotland, Calls, Glasgow, Lanarkshire, occasionally Ayrshire. But yeah, link in with me. Delighted to have a conversation, a coffee, now that we can get out and meet each other and just shoot the breeze. And if you've got any particular questions, then yeah, delighted to give my perspective. Again, and it's my perspective. There are other perspectives available. But thank you for the opportunity to actually just share some of my thinking, going from a hard-nosed buyer to be the nice guy that I am now.
I know. I was thinking as you were talking, I can't imagine you being that
I wasn't. Yeah, I was very focused and probably overwhelmed on the deal, the price, negotiating, getting what I wanted. Yeah. And that salesman probably saved me an awful lot of grief. As I said earlier, God bless him for the courage that he had to actually take me to a side and said, "This isn't going to help you in your future career, Phil."
Yeah. Great. Okay, brilliant. Well, look, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks especially to Phil for joining us on this. And I'm going to take you up on that. We'll have to get you back for part 2. So
we're delighted to.
7 elements, and we'll do the brown shoes story as well. So
okay. Don't build it up too much. It's not that funny, but anyway, it's intriguing. It's a perspective I have.
No, that's great.
That I'll share with you. No problem at all.
Thanks everyone.
Cheers.
See you all next week. Cheers.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.